Hello friends, and welcome back to another video, and a special big hello if you are new. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the books that I read in January, so let's get to it. Alright, so in the month of January I read 6 books. I read 2 physical books, 3 ebooks, and listened to 1 audiobook. I'm really surprised that I didn't read as many physical books as normal. I don't think that's I feel like that's kind of rare that I've read more of other formats, but nonetheless, it is what happened. So let's go ahead. And the first physical book that I read was The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Bronte. This tells the story of a young man named Gilbert Markham, and he is fascinated and falling in love with Helen, who is this young widow who has moved into his village, and she is taking residence in Wildfell Hall. As she's there, rumors start to swirl about her past, her dealings with the men in the villages, what actually happened to her husband, and Gilbert essentially feels he has no choice but to confront Helen and ask her about her past, in which she gives him her diary, which explains pretty much everything. I feel like Anne is so overshadowed by her sisters, and it is so unfair, and it's just such an injustice to her. This book was thrilling, it was exciting, it was suspenseful. I had no idea what was going to happen next. Truly, like, it was so just exhilarating of a read. It was wild. And I have read Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights, and I feel like of all of them, this one was probably the most like feminist of them all. It really highlights how unfair, especially back then, options are for women, and how when they are stuck in situations that they don't like, they really have no choice but to deal with it, and there is no other option for them. It also does a really great job of highlighting the patterns of abuse, especially with like a narcissistic kind of partner. And I thought that it was really interesting how it hasn't changed really from these times to now. And it's just amazing. And again, it's unfair. Anne is so overshadowed by her sisters, and it's so undeserved, because I'm going to recommend this book to everyone. It is so good, and I just think it's a must read. I will say that our heroine, in terms of it, I do prefer Jane still the best. I really love Helen and her, I'm looking for the right word, just, I guess she's got a lot of like gumption, a lot of get up and go. She's going to handle the situation, she's going to adapt to the situation, and she is a very good and kind person. But she was a little self-righteous at times, and that did get a little annoying to read. But I adored this book. It was a 5-star read for me. I think that you should read it, and I think that if you want, I think that you should recommend it to everyone, because it is so good. It is criminally underrated, and I know that I will reread this over and over and over again. The next physical book that I read was Beg, Borrow, or Steal, which is a new release this month, or last month probably rather, by Sarah Adams. It is the 3rd book in the Rome, Kentucky series, and it is loosely based off of How to Steal a Million with Audrey Hepburn. This tells the story of Emily. She is a 2nd grade teacher, and she kind of has her life laid out for her the way that she wants it, and everything is going pretty much according to plan for her. He was a college rival turned workplace rival, Jack, who is left to go get married, which she feels relieved about, but also a little sad. But turns out the wedding is called off, and Jack is moving back, and he is moving in next door, which Emily is not the biggest fan of. Emily has a secret literary aspiration, and she writes this steamy romance novel, and one night she is wine drunk, and she decides to take the risk and send this novel out to a publisher, except she accidentally sends it to her principal. Being a 2nd grade teacher, she strongly feels that she is going to be fired if her principal reads this novel or it gets out that she has written this manuscript. And the only person that she can think of who could help her pull this off by breaking into her principal's house while he's on vacation, finding his laptop, and deleting the email is Jack. So these two go on this like adventure to reclaim what Emily accidentally put out there in the world. I loved this book. I don't like really enemies to lovers, and I felt that this book does just a great job of really highlighting that rivalry and that they kind of disliked each other, but they also really truly did like each other deep down without it turning into like an enemies type of thing. I also really loved that, like, as the characters got to know each other and how they wanted to protect each other within their vulnerabilities, I thought that was really beautiful. I don't know, it was just so cute and perfect and heartwarming. It has such a great balance of the characters being real and human and vulnerable, but also being cute and adorable and fun and romantic. I don't think that anyone does cute as well as Sarah Adams does. I just adore her writing, and I really adore her books. I will say that this wasn't my favorite in the Rome, Kentucky book. Practice Makes Perfect is still my favorite, but this is a very, 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 very close second. Moving on to ebooks, the first ebook that I read was Off to the Races by Elsie Silver, and I am sorry if you got the Lana Del Rey song stuck in your head. It is always stuck in my head when I talk about this book, and it was stuck in my head the whole time that I read this book. It tells the story of Billy and Vaughn. Vaughn's grandfather has passed away, and right after his grandfather passed away, it became known that his grandfather's horse training business, he was involved in like horse racing and things like that, that his grandfather had been fixing races for money. And Vaughn is trying really hard to bring glory back to his grandfather's name and to kind of fix his grandfather's legacy. He hires Billy to be a horse trainer, and she is kind of reckless and not exactly what he would have expected. They kind of instantly clash. They have very different styles of how they think things should be done. But obviously, because of that, they have a lot of chemistry. This was not my favorite book by Elsie Silver. I read Chestnut Springs last year and devoured them and loved it, and it was truly just amazing. I've also read Rose Hill, and I really liked it. And out of all of the Elsie Silver books that I've read, this one's probably my least favorite. But it was still good. It was still cute. It was still romantic. And I feel like she's grown so much as a writer. So obviously, I'm probably not going to like her early work as much as her more recent work. But it still just had all of those little things that I really love in an Elsie Silver book. And it was great. And, just a really kind of cute, like, palette cleanser type of book. Next, I read Spark of the Everflame and Glow of the Everflame by Penn. This is a book series. I think there are 4, but there are only 3 out now. It tells the story of our hero. Her name's Diem or Diem. I'm not entirely for sure how you would pronounce her name. She lives in this world where you have mortals and then you have the Descended. And the Descended are pretty much, they have magical elements and they're pretty much immortal. Like, they live very long lifespans. And they kind of rule with like an iron fist over the mortals. And the mortals have really poor living conditions. Diem is a healer, and after her mother disappears, she gets to be a healer at the palace for the king who is slowly dying, and the king is Descended. And while she's there, she keeps encountering the prince, who is kind of the presumed heir after the king dies. There's a lot of political intrigue in this book. There is a group of rebels who are a group of mortals who are trying to rise against the Descended and kind of take them down so the mortals can rule and live in more favorable situations. But as she is kind of towing between both of these worlds, she's seeing both sides and realizing that there is good on both sides, and one side isn't necessarily good and one side isn't necessarily bad, as well as she's kind of having some abilities come to play, and she's not entirely for sure what to do about them or how to handle them, especially since the guidance of her mother is gone. That's probably not the best explanation, especially to be talking about two books, but I really don't want to spoil the second book if you haven't read the first one, or if you're interested in reading the first one. I lived with the first one. I absolutely devoured it. I read it within 2 or 3 days. I didn't want to stop reading about it. It was all I could think about. It was amazing. In the first book, Diem, she really got on my nerves. But by the second book, she kind of became unbearable with her inability to see people for who they were or to realize situations at hand. Like her chosen or like her choosing to be naive to everything around her was really irritating and frustrating, and I just feel like completely unrealistic. And her like unwillingness to step into her own power, and her like how much she clinged to just very like she was clinging to the bad things instead of stepping into her power and embracing what could be. But plot wise, I really enjoyed it. The second book, like I said, it really started to wear on me, her character, but the ending completely saved it. The ending was so stinking good, and I'm definitely going to be reading the third one, and I'm hoping that the plot, again, if our character doesn't really change a lot, I'm hoping that the plot again will kind of make up for that. So yeah, the last book that I read was the audiobook, and that is The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop. I adore Kelly Bishop. Emily Gilmore from Gilmore Girls is probably one of my favorite characters of all time. She is Lorelai's mother and Rory's grandma, if you were unfamiliar. I was really excited to listen to this book because I knew I was going to get like little tidbits, little behind the scene things of Gilmore Girls, but I was really happily surprised to find out that it really is less about Gilmore Girls and more about Kelly Bishop, which made my heart extremely happy. Kelly Bishop is such a fascinating human to me. I want to be her when I grow up. She is so unapologetic with her life and the choices that she has made in her life, and she has so much gumption and just she was just so, like I said, just unapologetic with who she is and how she's chosen to live her life. And I just truly admire her so much. Another thing that I really loved in this book was how she highlights how life always works out. We can make career changes. We can get divorced if need be. We can move. We can do all of these different things, and life is always going to work out for our good. It's always going to turn out the way that it's supposed to. And our dreams that we have are, if we truly, truly want them, we truly work hard for them, they're going to come true. And I just really felt like that was the big takeaway from this book. There was just so much wisdom, and I, went into this book knowing I was going to probably enjoy it, knowing that I really liked Kelly Bishop, but I'm not kidding. Like, I literally want to be her when I grow up. Like, she was just so fascinating and wonderful to me, and I really recommend it. I think that it's a book that even if you aren't a fan of Gilmore Girls, or you've never watched the show or have no desire to, I think her memoir is just so wonderful and so well done that it really is for anyone. All right, friends, thank you so much for being here and listening to me babble on about books. I'm sorry if the lighting isn't the best. It's a very rainy and overcast day, and I really wanted to get this video up because today's February 6th, so I wanted to get it up before it was too late into the month. And it rained all day yesterday. It's rainy today. I'm not going to be home tomorrow, and I just don't see myself filming it over the weekend. So this was my only option. So I'm sorry if the lighting isn't the best. But anyway, again, thank you for being here and listening to me babble on about books. It makes my day that you take time out of your day to watch my videos or to comment on my videos or subscribe to my channel. it means the world to me, and I can't believe that people care about what I have to say about books. It's wonderful, and I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. But enough of my little spiel. I'm really in my emotions today, I think. But anyway, I am so glad that you're here. Thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.